Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler. I'm the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. This is your Friday Field Notes where I share some thoughts from throughout the week. I thought I would get some input from the guys in our Facebook group on what they wanted me to cover. And as I asked for questions, I've got about 7 or 8 here in the past 15 or 20 minutes, and 5 of them are along the same subject, which is how to deal with demons coming back into your life, or if your life gets off track, what do you do to get back on track? A lot of these types of questions. So it feels like this is something that we need to address. There's a few other questions sprinkled in here, and I will get to those, of course, as well. But I think the theme of this will be getting back on track when you deviate or your plan changes or your external circumstances change, which they have a tendency of doing from time to time. So we'll hit on that. Before I get into that discussion, though, I want to let you know that next week on the 15th, we're going to be opening up the Iron Council. So that is our exclusive brotherhood. We've got about 1,500 men inside the Iron Council who are all working through some of the questions that we have today. A lot of these guys come into the Iron Council because they have challenges and struggles and problems and changes in their plans and demons coming back into their lives, and they're trying to figure out how to get right again. And you could go at it alone and you could try to make things work, but the reality is you can only change your life to the degree that you know how to. So if you want something different out of your life, then something different needs to take place, or you need some different inputs. And one of the best places to get that is from a group of other men who are motivated and inspired and ambitious and ready to do the same thing. What you're also going to find in the Iron Council is men who are experts in their field. For example, we have Johnny Loretti. He's a health and fitness coach. He's my strength and conditioning coach and nutritionist. He's been in the field for a long time, very credible, runs a gym in outside of Boston. This is an expert. We've got financial experts. We've got entrepreneurs. We've got guys who are fathers. We've got guys who are making incredible 6-7 figures each and every year. Guys, of course, like I just said, fitness, firearms trainers, and instructors. So you're going to be able to have access unlike you will anywhere else when you join and band with us in the Iron Council. So that's going to open up again next week on the 15th. So I need you to go to orderofman.com/Iron Council right now. And that way, when we open up, I'll be able to send you an email and let you know. Otherwise, you just won't get an email and know that we're open. So orderofman.com/Iron Council. All right, let's get to these. I'm going to get some of these out of the way. They're good questions, but I'm going to get a few out of the way, and then we're going to get to the meat of the discussion. So this one comes from Caleb Johnson. He says, what are your suggestions for building a workout habit with a job that has odd switching hours? For example, 0500 to 1500, 1100 to 2100 with kids too, and my wife works. This is a question I get a lot with varying schedules. How do you have any sort of normalcy or get in any sort of routine, whether it's a workout or self-development or time for yourself? How do you do this? Well, specifically, Caleb, because you're asking about a workout, what I would suggest is you look at the most efficient workouts possible. It may not be possible for you to spend an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, and you may need to look at 15-minute workouts. I would also highly suggest that you look into body weight workouts, because you might be at work or you might get called into work and you're not able to go to the gym or train at your house, and you may need to do something in your office on your break. So if you have a body and you're able to move it, it's push-ups, it's pull-ups, it's squats, it's lunges, it's all of these types of movements, burpees that you can do regardless of where you are. So that's going to be key for you, because you never know when you're going to get called in or when you're going to go to work. But outside of that, even if you don't know your schedule immediately, I'm pretty willing to bet that you know at least ahead of time. Maybe it's a week ahead of time. And what I would say is just have a standard practice that you work out 2 hours before you go into the office, or you work out after you get back from work before you go home, whatever that looks, or on your lunch break. I don't know your exact line of work, but you know to some degree when and where you're going to be going. So get your training in and just say, hey, I'm going to train 2 hours before I get into work. So if I'm going in at 8, I'm going to train at 6 o'clock. If I go in at 3 this afternoon, then I train at 1 o'clock, and build the normalcy and the routine around the time span that you need before you go to work. I hope that makes sense. Let me see if there's some other questions here. And then, like I said, I'll get a few of these done and then we'll get into the meat of the discussion. Rob Christensen says limiting frustration and anger at work, backbiting, etc., how acting out jeopardizes your integrity. That's a good question. It's a good topic. It's something that I personally deal with. And I'll tell you where that anger stems from. It stems from frustration with my own performance. That's typically what it is. It's frustration with my own performance. And typically the way that shows up is I'm not as effective or efficient with my jobs or my duties and tasks as I could be. Maybe I didn't get as much done as I would have liked to have got done. And that is primarily due to mismanagement of my time. Mismanagement of my time. The better I manage my time, the more I'm able to accomplish, the more effective and efficient I am, and the less angry and stressed out that I become. So for me, I'm able to get to the root of it. If I can have my schedule accurate, I can stay on my schedule. When I have spare time like I do today, I filled that spare time with something, recording this podcast. Normally I would record on Wednesday. Today I'm recording on Tuesday because I have a little spare time. I can get it done now, and that way tomorrow I'm not as cramped. I'm not as rushed, and that will reduce my personal stress levels. But guys, the reality is that if you blow up at work, in your professional relationships or interpersonal relationships, you are going to undermine all of the trust and credibility and authority that you have been building up with other people. And as I say this, I should say we, because I do this as well. You've been making deposits into the emotional bank account of other people. Maybe it's your wife, possibly your children, definitely your colleagues and your coworkers. And then one day you blow up and you get angry over nothing or something, but it was something within your control. And then you undermine everything that you've been doing for the last week or month or year because you had one blow up. So I would suggest to you that if you don't manage your schedule correctly, the first thing you need to do when you start feeling yourself getting angry is disengage. You cannot engage with people when you're angry. So maybe that's a simple take a deep breath. My wife and I had a conversation last night, and she said something that I was getting angry about, and I got triggered by what she said emotionally, and I got a little defensive, and then I got a little offensive, and then I stopped and realized, hey, this is not conducive to the type of relationship I want to have with her and the discussion I want to have with her. So I literally just said, hold on, just give me a second. And I reset in 3 seconds. And then I was able to re-engage in that conversation like a mature man ought to do. Sometimes it requires more. Sometimes you need to leave the situation altogether. But here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to not come back to the environment. That's what a lot of guys will do, is they'll disengage like, hey, I'm hot-headed. I'm upset about this. I'm triggered, whatever. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do whatever. And then they never come back to it. That's not healthy either. You need to be a man. We need to come back to the conversations and have the conversations that need to be had, but do it in a positive and constructive way. Dylan Thompson. And then this is the last question I'll get to before we get into that theme of the conversation today. How to deal with family during the holidays. Look, anytime somebody says how to deal with, usually my response is you don't. And I would actually say that with family as well. And I don't mean don't talk with them or communicate with them at all. I would just be willing to bet that it's not all bad. There's just certain topics and conversations and things that get brought up that tend to elicit these types of arguments and banter and disagreement. And I would suggest that you just don't have those conversations, because what is the possible result of getting mad and frustrated and upset with each other? Also, boundaries. Boundaries are a beautiful thing. We talk about it all the time. So if you have a bunch of family over and there's no boundaries established, or you can't get away or they can't get away, and you're all stuck and cramped in this house for the holidays, that's going to be an issue. So find a way to get all of you out of the house, out of the environment. You don't have to be together 100% of the time, all day, every day. Maybe the guys go out and you go golfing, one afternoon. Maybe the ladies go and do what they want to do. Maybe, you have a place for the kids, but then maybe there's a family night where you individually go out as families. You just create little situations where you're not all together all the time, just boiling and steaming and getting ready to blow up. You got to have a venting system for that. All right, so let's get into the theme of the conversation. So Vince Esposito says, how do you handle failure and learn from it? Adam Collins Sharp says, when things don't go the way we want or expect, how would one pivot in life? Another one, this is from Brian Schultz. What to do when the demons you thought you had tamed come creeping back? So you can see a lot of these questions are based on, what do I do when things don't go according to plan? Well, here's what I would say. First and foremost, know that things aren't going to go according to plan. You have to manage your own personal expectations, that it's not going to be perfect, that it's not going to work out just right. If your expectation is, with your fitness journey, for example, that you're going to go to the gym and you're going to lose all this weight and you're going to get strong and jacked in a matter of a couple of days or a couple of weeks, that's probably not going to happen. If you think that everybody is going to do everything that you think they should be doing every single time you bark an order, that's probably not going to happen. If you're tasked with an assignment or something at work and you think that it's going to work perfectly and all the vendors are going to get stuff to you on time and the cost is going to be fixed and people are going to communicate effectively, get real. It's not going to happen. So the first thing that we need to do is realize that life is going to throw curveballs at you to varying degrees. It might be that you're driving to work and you notice that somebody on the side of the road has a flat tire or vehicle problems, and you decide to pull over and help that person. And that's a curveball and it took a little time, but you were helpful. It's pretty benign, I would say. Or it might be that, you have a conversation with your wife and you realize she's not happy and maybe she's looking at separation or divorce. Okay. That's something infinitely harder to deal with. Or you go into work and realize that you don't have a job anymore. Okay. These are harder things to deal with. But if we anticipate that challenges and obstacles are going to come up, then we can be proactive in dealing with those things and assertive before the problems happen. If we recognize that our wives are not obligated to stay with us forever, regardless of how we behave, then maybe that's going to help us behave a little better when things are good. If you know that your employment isn't guaranteed and that any day it could go away, then maybe you will be better with your money when the sun is shining, and you'll put money aside and you'll build up a network and learn how to network with other people so that job opportunities are abundant. That's the biggest thing that you can do, is anticipate that things are going to happen and start planning for what could potentially happen right now, today, so that when you do get kicked in the nuts, it's not going to hurt as bad. It's like you have somebody kicks you in the nuts. It's like, okay, I can't deal with, I can't control that, but I got a cup on, right? So you can mitigate, you can manage those expectations. The next thing I would say is get your mind right. It's hard when things get challenging. You have a medical condition, a job loss, a break in a relationship. I mean, these things are extremely, extremely challenging. And usually our mindset is trapped in looking backwards. What could I have done? What should I have done? How could this have gone differently? I wish I could rewind time. Look, to a degree, we need to analyze our performance because we can make better decisions moving forward. But at some point, we have to stake something in the ground and say, okay, this is my new starting point. I am not that man. One of my favorite quotes is, no man steps in the same river twice, because he is not the same man and it is not the same river. Things change. You change. You've made mistakes. You are worse in some ways. You're better in some ways. You can improve. You can evolve, but you can't do that if you're trapped in what's happened in the past. So take that tragic and sometimes horrible set of circumstances that you found yourself in and Put a period at the end of it. That happened, period. And now here's the next chapter of my life that I'm going to write, and get to writing it. Do things differently. Go to the gym. Get your finances in order. Sell a bunch of stuff around your house so you can pay off debt. Start eating correctly. Start having better interpersonal communication with your friends and your family members and the people that you care about. Like, you can do things different because you want to. That's a beautiful thing about being a human being. All it takes for you to do something different is to decide that you're going to do something different. Another strategy that I've been using personally, and I haven't always used this, so I can't talk at length about this, but journaling. Journaling's been really big for me. Just getting thoughts out of my mind. I'll write, sometimes I'll write what went well today. What 2 or 3 things did I do that went really well? When I got angry today at this person, why was I angry, and why did that trigger me, and what did I do about it? What lesson did I learn today that I wouldn't have learned if I wouldn't have been more aware, like I am now, of what's going on in my life? These are all little prompts that you can use to get out of your own head. Another strategy is to get around people that live the kind of life that you're after. I know it's cliche to say the thing about, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with and all this kind of stuff. And it's cliche because it's true. So if you've found yourself in a rut or a set of circumstances that you aren't happy with, that aren't favorable, then you have to change all of those variables. And part of that is getting around the right people. And getting around the right people has never been easier than it is today. How do you do that? Go to the gym. That's easy. Get a gym membership. Like, if you're lonely and you don't have friends, or the friends you do have are losers, where do you start? Just go down to your local gym and pick up a $40 a month membership and show up. Get there early, get there in the afternoon when people are done, go there on a lunch break, go there when people are there. You can go to business luncheons. You can look online and find activities in your area that you're excited about, because other people will be excited about those same things and you can connect with them. You can go to conferences. You can go to events. Just get out where the people are, where the good people are that you want to be connected to and meet with. And at the end of the day, just know it's going to take time. That's probably the worst thing about it, is that you in your mind have made a decision to change your life, to change who you are, to change how you show up. And for me, if you're anything like me, not waiting, but allowing the process to work sucks, right? If I want to get in shape, I don't want it to take months. I want it to happen now, but it can't happen now. If I want to rebuild a relationship with somebody that I maybe have damaged over the years, I don't want to wait 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years or never. I want that to take place now. So that's a mindset thing. And that patience, my friend Andy Frisilla calls it being aggressively patient. What he means by that is you're doing the work. You're not just sitting back hoping things will miraculously work out, or you'll have a different set of circumstances than you did before by doing the same thing. No, it's doing the work required. And we all know what it is. You all know what the work is. I know what the work is. It's doing that work and letting the process unfold. When I go to the gym and I'm working out and I look in the mirror, I'm like, man, I look the same I did yesterday. Yeah. It's going to take a few weeks to maybe notice some differences, or maybe a few months. Or if the relationship I have with my kids or my wife or friends or colleagues isn't what I want it to be, I can make the decision to change and improve, but they may never come around. Or if they do, it may be slower than you would like, but you've got to be aggressively patient. Just keep doing what you need to be doing, knowing that it's the right thing to do. And that's a big deal, by the way, is the ability to do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. Because if you base your actions on the results that you hope to experience, then your actions are contingent upon receiving those results. And to a degree, that makes sense, right? If you're working out and you've been doing it for 2 years and you're not experiencing results, Okay, something's got to change. So we do need to look at that. But there are things that we should be doing in life that are intrinsically valuable, and we actually don't need to have some sort of external result or validation in order for us to do that thing. So keep doing the right things because it's the right thing to do, and have faith that if you stack enough of those actions together over long and sustained periods of time, you will be in a better position than you were before. Guys, I know it's challenging and I know it's rough. And I know, especially this time of year, people are thinking about their previous 12 months and what's worked and what hasn't and how it's gone well and what's gone to shit in their lives. Like, I get it. I understand. I'm doing that too. And so sometimes it's easy to dwell on the horrible stuff. And it's not bad that we look at it. It's just a reminder that we're imperfect and that we struggle and we mess up and we hurt people and we fall short of our expectations. But what a beautiful time to start thinking about how to get better, how to improve, how to adapt, how to evolve. And one other prompt I've used is when I'm in a situation where I'm emotionally compromised, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm short tempered with people, or even where I'm tempted to do something I know isn't right, is asking myself, what would the man that I want to be do in this situation? And then do that regardless of the consequences, because we have a good ability to talk ourselves out of it. So what would the man that I want to be do in this circumstance? And then do that. That's what I'm working on. Can't say I'm good at it. Can't say I get 100% or 80 or even maybe 60%, but that is something that I try. And when I apply it, it works. Okay. All right, guys. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate the questions and the topics. But again, we can overcome these things. We can overcome these challenges. We've got to do it right. And I hope I gave you some tips and strategies to be able to do that. So, guys, make it a great weekend. We'll be back next week. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.